go. Okay, it's 6 o'clock and I think we've got everybody in. So the regular meeting of the Windsor Heights City Council is called to order. Roll call.
Susan Skerries,
Here.
Joseph Jones,
Here.
Mike Lafredo. Saw he was trying to log in. We'll wait a little bit for him. Mike Jones
Here.
and Teresa Harms.
I'm here. Good evening.
Let's go ahead and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance while we wait for Mike. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Travis, has Mike come in yet?
Looks like he's trying to. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like he's having some difficulty getting on. Yeah, it was like showing progress, him joining and then joining again, and then now there's nothing.
Okay. Motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Susan Skerries,
Yes.
Mike Lafredo, Joseph Jones, Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is public hearing on amendments to the City Code, Chapter 156, related to property maintenance and rental housing code. Motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Susan Skerries,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Mike Lafredo, Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Travis, have we got any registered public comment?
I have not seen any.
Is there any public comment coming from the open forum on dial-in or on Zoom?
Move to close the public hearing if there's no comments or,
Can you hear me?
oh,
At this
there we go.
time. I see Tyler Ragnar.
Yeah, Tyler Rager, resident here in Windsor Heights. Lived here for a little over 4 years. Was pretty happy living here for really the first 3 years. But just the last year, some frustrations. The first of which, I just saw this report in the Des Moines Register like last Thursday. Just curious why we spent $4,000 or whatever it was of taxpayer dollars on it. Seems like a waste of money and a waste of time, when really I think our priority should be getting universities opened up. That's a complete disaster, and it's been a disaster since what, April? So just curious to why it seems we're not prioritizing the right things, and I would just encourage the council to do that. Thank you.
Tyler, were those comments related to property maintenance and rental housing code?
Oh, sorry, I hopped on late, so I just thought this was public forum for anything.
Public forum hasn't been there yet, so this is not where we do that. So,
All right, well, I guess I'll reserve my comments for a little later then.
okay, thank you. Any other comments pertaining to the maintenance and rental housing code? If not, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Susan Skerries,
Yes.
Mike Lafredo. Here, and he dropped off again. Joseph Jones, Looks like Joseph might be frozen. Mike Jones
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Next item is consideration of the first reading of ordinance 21-02, an ordinance amending chapter 156 of the Windsor Heights Code of Ordinances related to property maintenance and rental housing code. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on this? Roll call.
Susan Skiris,
Yes.
Joseph Jones. I don't see Mike LaFredo, Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Yes.
Next item is public forum. Time is set aside for comments from the public on topics of city business other than those listed on the agenda. No action will be taken. Please state your name and address for the record and keep your comments to less than 5 minutes. Tyler, this would be where you would speak up if you would like to.
Yes, sorry about that. I got kicked for a second. Want to apologize for being premature with my remarks. I just heard open forum earlier. So, yeah, my comments, we spent $4,900 on that report. Didn't really see anything in there that caused me concern. And definitely not more concerned than what's going on University Avenue. I mean, we're just going to leave it looking like that all winter. It's really annoying to have to deal with, and it just seems like there hasn't been much sense of urgency, and it's a real burden on people's lives to have to deal with that on their commutes to work, on their commutes home. And because of the the hazard or the burden that it's put on people's lives, I know a lot of people like myself who just stopped shopping in Windsor Heights because we just don't want to deal with that. So I would just encourage the council to make sure we're prioritizing the right things and not spending taxpayer money on reports that really don't tell us anything. So thank you.
Okay, Tyler, what was your address?
965th Street, apartment 23.
Okay, thank you. Tyler, or Travis, you got that?
965th Street, apartment 23.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Tyler. Anyone else speaking on public forum? Thank you. Next item is consent agenda. Any item can be removed for separate consideration. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Susan Skiris,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Mike LaFredo, Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Okay, next item is old business. Consideration of second reading of ordinance 2101. Ordinance amending the code for City of Windsor Heights by amending chapter 55 related to animal control and protection. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Susan Skiris,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Mike LaFredo, Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Next item is their consideration of waiving the third and final reading of the same ordinance. If so, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or discussion on it, or roll call?
Susan Skiris,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Mike LaFredo, Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Next item is consideration of final invoice from GovHR for city administrator search. Motion
to
to
approve.
approve.
Second.
So moved.
Discussion. Roll call.
Susan Skiris,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Mike LaFredo,
yes,
Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Next item is consideration of University Avenue CenturyLink issues and resolution. I believe this is simply an accept and file. Dalton, you want to explain this a little bit?
So the CenturyLink issues that we encountered on the University Avenue project last summer have been resolved. Bolton and Mink and Elder Corp all tracked their time and materials spent on mitigating the issues that were primarily caused by unlocated or poorly located CenturyLink infrastructure. In one of our resolution recommendations with the Iowa Utilities Board, the recommendation was to talk to CenturyLink about some kind of cost sharing measure on the additional cost. So we did that a few weeks ago, and CenturyLink has agreed to pay for 100% of the additional cost to the project on phases 1A, 1B, 2B, and 2C as a result of their poor utility location and mapping services. So the total additional cost that we're going to be getting reimbursed is just under $12,000. And then to identify one of the issues that we said is, we can get the money back from you, but we're never going to get the time back. And so more important, or just as important as the money, is verify that what you've got in future areas of this project and other projects is accurate. And so we had another meeting with them this afternoon, and that's going well. So hopefully we do not have these issues again in the future. I think we got their attention with the actions that we took.
Good. So basically, this is an accept and file report.
Just memo for everybody's information.
Motion to accept.
I think, Dave, just technicality wise, it's receive and file,
Okay.
not accepting it. But
Motion to receive and file.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Susan Skiris,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Mike LaFredo,
Yes,
Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Next item is consideration of dog park parking lot design services. Dalton, you want to just keep talking?
Yeah, sure. Dennis, did you want to do this? You want me to go ahead with it?
Please, no, please do it.
Okay. So one of the items from the parks plan that we heard pretty overwhelming public support behind was some kind of improved parking facilities at the end of Center Street. As you remember, last year during our budget 2020-2021 operating budget process, we included quite a bit of funding for park improvements in the operating budget, $110,000 or $115,000. And we had a lot of things that we could have spent that money on, or that were kind of talked about at the time. However, all of those things that we talked about are going to be, or could be, impacted by this flood mitigation and analysis study that we're just in the very beginning steps of. So we talked about improved trail lighting. We talked about like a fitness court. We talked about splash pads and bike hub and all kinds of cool stuff down in the park. But it's very likely that whatever we end up doing with as a result of the flood mitigation and analysis study is that we're going to end up ripping some of that stuff out. So we can confidently say that improving parking on Center Street is going to have no impact on our flood analysis whatsoever, and we're not going to have to redo any of the work. We're looking into two options here, if that's the direction that you want us to go. Option one is including the parking on, or putting the parking up on the Storage Mart green space, just north of Center Street. I talked to Storage Mart and they're agreeable to this situation. 100% of the construction costs and ongoing maintenance for that facility would be on the city because it's not really filling any of their needs. The second option that we're looking at is installing street parking on the north side of Center Street. So basically taking that curb line and moving it back to the right of way. We need about 12 feet for a parking stall, and we've got 13 feet over there to make that work. So we're just gonna, before we really got into the design and pricing those out, just wanted to kind of get the professional service agreement in front of you guys before we started incurring hard engineering costs on that. So any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Dalton, I have a question, and the question is, wouldn't the dog park also be affected by the flood mitigation plan?
The dog park itself would, which is why we're not doing any of the stuff that we had previously talked about. So like putting in a new chain link fence or new obstacles for the dogs or new like landscaping, trees and stuff. Because one of the items that we've talked about, Mike, at the Public Works Committee is doing quite a bit of digging down there. So we're operating under the assumption that the dog park is going to remain there. It is just good. It could look significantly different, but I can very confidently say that we're not going to go start lowering the roadway over on Center Street because we'll have to start lowering utilities, people's driveways. And so, I mean, that's just completely unrealistic. So the options that we're exploring, I think, are pretty conservative.
Well, Dalton, in my opinion, until that flood mitigation analysis and study is complete, I think everything regarding that area probably should be on hold, frankly. I mean, street parking is fine. You know, there's no cost to that. But other expenses, I think, would be premature to get involved with. That's my feeling.
Dalton, I have just a few questions. You kind of answered one today at the budget meeting that you thought there would be maybe 13 parking spots included in this if we went ahead with this. But I agree with Mike that until we know if the dog park is really going to be there and be operational with the amount of people that we currently have there, maybe we should just wait until the flood mitigation information comes back to us instead of doing this and then having to tear it apart or realize that maybe someplace else would have made better sense. I also am just curious. It says in here that since 1 of 2019, there's been 12 complaints about parking called into the PD, and then about half a dozen to the Public Works. So in 24 months, there's been 18 complaints, so less than one a month. Now, I understand that, you know, to the people that live there, it's, you know, it probably affects them, but that to me doesn't seem like a whole lot of complaints being called in a 2-year period.
Right. Yeah. So we don't hardly get any complaints down there during the winter months. And I don't want to speak for Chief on this, but I know that just talking to the residents, their main concerns are basically Memorial Day to Labor Day. So when the weather's nice, people go to the dog park. So yeah, 24 months, I'd be willing to bet the majority of those probably came in the summer, but yeah, I hear you 100%. This was something that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so this is something that got quite a bit of support on that parks plan. Obviously, just because it's in the plan doesn't mean we have to do it, but I know that there's some residents that reached out to you as well. So, you know, I mean, if that's not something the city's interested in doing, that's not a big deal. But the funds are programmed this year for capital improvements in the parks, and this is the only option or the only project I really know of that I can confidently say is not going to be impacted by our flood analysis.
Now, can you explain to me where the problem is? What exactly is the problem so that I completely understand with the parking? Is it that people are parking on the dead end there? Is there a way to blockade that then? Or what is the issue? I know that some of the parking, it's because the people are not parking correctly and they're parking into driveways. I mean, we have that happen when Kohl's has their school activities here as well. So I understand that it's a pain to deal with. And I'm sure if you have to deal with it daily, it kind of gets a little annoying, but just want to make sure that I understand kind of a little bit after looking at the area that I know kind of what our complaints are.
Yeah, from what I understand, the complaints are people are frustrated that they're parking and either hanging over their driveways either a little bit, or that they're constantly having people walking through their yards getting to the dog park. So I guess there's 3 complaints. One of them, they don't like having people park in front of their house, which, I mean, the response is it's a public street and parking is allowed. So we can't regulate who parks on it without having like some kind of parking meters or permit system, which is just, that's not really all that feasible. Second complaint is people parking in front of driveways. I mean, that's pretty, frustrating. I get that. And the third one is then when people park on the east side of Center Street, even east of that side road, I think it's 65th. They walk through the people's, it's the right of way, but they're walking through the right of way. So
Okay.
Travis down there, he not you, Travis, other Travis that lives down at the dead end, he put up a hedgerow to keep people out of his yard. So.
Well, that's trying to avoid the problem rather than solve the problem. Dalton, again, it's relatively minimal a year, and it is an annoyance when people have parked a little ways into my driveway or blocked my mailbox. But I don't think we need to change my street because of a couple issues that I've had, because I'm on the corner. Usually people are pretty cooperative if you're available to catch them. So anyway, I don't know. I don't think it's a major thing. As far as being in the CIP, well, that's fine. But there is plenty to use taxpayer dollars included in the CIP right now, with probably a greater priority than this issue.
Dalton, do we know the time frame of the flood study?
So I got responses back on Friday afternoon. Sorry, I got a cough here. Excuse me. I got responses back on Friday afternoon for our request for qualifications. Got 5 responses, just initial, combing through them. They all look very good. I got to go through all those. Dennis and I are meeting either the end of this week or early next week to put together a list of people that we want to submit for our request for proposals. So
I think that's the good first step. I mean, I think that's the way to go.
I guess to answer your question, Mike, deliverable anytime between probably August and October. To put it into perspective for you, Clive has been doing a project like this that started in like late 2017. So these are very long processes, and they're starting phase 2 of the Clive project now. So it's just a lot of kind of plugging and playing and what ifs. So.
Okay.
I take it from the conversation that this should be brought back at a later date for consideration. Motion to table.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Susan Skerrys,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Mike LaFredo,
Yes,
Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Next item for consideration is job descriptions. I believe this is Public Works and Admin. Dennis, would you like to take this one?
Yes, this is pretty straightforward. The council received these job descriptions some time ago, I think back in October. I have supplemented that group of job descriptions with one alternative, and that is the creation of an assistant clerk position. And I did that, I think, about a week and a half ago. So what I'm recommending this evening is that the city council approve the job descriptions, including the supplement that were presented to the council, so that we can begin the process of hiring a consultant to do the comp study, and then the council can make a final decision on which positions and a comp study they want to authorize.
Dennis, are you suggesting that the motion will include the modification of someone to help out with finances?
No,
Okay, that's excluded from this?
that was never part of the discussion. Yes, it's excluded.
Okay, that's what I want. So it's just the regular job descriptions as they're described right now.
Correct.
Okay. You
But it has the addition of the, what is it, the assistant city clerk, correct?
Correct.
I thought you said we're not going to consider that one.
No, you said something about a finance position. There are no additional finance positions included. I think,
Okay, well, that's what I meant, the assistant clerk.
okay, then yes. I'm recommending the original group that was sent to the council in October, plus the one that I sent to you a week and a half ago.
Right, I remember.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood, Mike.
Well, no, that's okay. Maybe I didn't state it well.
Motion to approve the job descriptions as has been sent to all of us.
I don't think we're done talking.
Okay.
Dennis, looking at a number of cities probably similar to our size, I can't see, it's not unusual for a city to have a clerk or a deputy clerk. That is not unusual. It is unusual to have a clerk, a deputy clerk, and then a finance director. I mean, sometimes you've got a city administrator who is the city clerk, or you have a city clerk who is a finance director. That looks like that's the case in Harlan. Osceola has a city administrator / city clerk. Evansdale, they have a clerk, a city clerk, and then a building inspector. So essentially you're having 3 people handle either financial or sometimes, I guess, quasi-financial responsibilities. That's what you're asking to happen.
Well, Mike, let me clarify again one more time. I am not recommending that the council approve any jobs this evening and authorize any positions. What I'm trying to do is get job descriptions completed to have a basis for reference for a comp study, so that then the council has both job responsibilities and costs associated with those job responsibilities in front of you, so you can make a decision on which direction. Now, I would disagree with you that most cities have don't have a finance director if they have a city clerk. I know many cities that have both. I know many cities that have deputy finance directors, deputy clerks, assistant city managers, all the same size as the city of Windsor Heights. So what I'm trying to do is not mimic other communities. I'm trying to fit what is the job tasks and the workload here at the city of Windsor Heights. And right now, the city clerk fills in as a backstop for the finance director when necessary. We have no one that fills in as the backstop for the city clerk. And I do not have time to take on backstopping those 2 job descriptions. So with that, I've presented you a very cost-effective way to address all those, fill those holes, be prepared when we need to backstop one of those positions. And I'm estimating that the cost next year would be only an additional $10,000. So With that early information and my best estimate, I'm asking the council to approve the job descriptions as presented and then reserve their final decision when I ask them to authorize the positions that we're talking about.
Dennis, I appreciate you stating that because that's what I understood you said the first time. So just to, I guess I'm just going to say it out loud so I make sure I agree. I understand what you're saying, which is this is just for the purposes of having these on file and as purposes for setting the direction for or setting the scope of work for the comp study. But at the end of the day, any effort to hire or to even offer a position, to even start that, to approve a position, comes back to City Council to make that decision. Then this gives us the platform from which to look at everything. And so we have a big picture as we move forward.
Correct.
There? Okay, thanks.
Go back and ask for a motion to approve.
Dave, can are we in discussion mode?
Well, we started off with discussion instead of going to a motion and a second before we went to discussion. So go ahead.
Well, it's up to you. I don't care. I'm not in favor of elaborating a job description at this time. Again, less than a year ago, probably, there was a need to reorganize the central office, and it was done. And we added a finance director and maintained the city clerk. And I don't know how we got by with just a city clerk before. Maybe not very well, but there seemed to be a need for a director, finance director, and I think the position is well warranted, and I voted for it. But I think we're doing a little bit of overkill here for a 4,800 resident city, and city administrator, I would suggest, I don't think it would happen very often with two people in those roles now. However, perhaps on rare occasions, I wouldn't see it happening, maybe not at all, is that maybe the city administrator could put a stopgap themselves into that. I think that has happened in the past in this city when we only had a clerk.
If there's no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Roll call.
Harms,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Mike Jones,
No.
Susan Skiris,
No.
and Mike LaFredo.
No,
The motion failed.
Mr. Mayor,
Go.
if the hangup was with the assistant clerk position, then I would ask that the council then consider making a motion to adopt the job descriptions that were presented in October, excluding the assistant clerk's position, so we can continue to move forward.
Do I have a motion to entertain the approval without the new proposed position?
I'll make the motion to do that, to approve the job descriptions as offered in this fall. Only if it's allowed. Aaron, do you want to verify? I don't need to get myself in any more trouble. Can somebody confirm and verify?
That would be appropriate, yes.
Thank you. So moved.
Well, the finance director still has the removal of the performs the duties of the city clerk on a needed basis.
Yes, I have the same question as Mike Jones. I'm just kind of curious as to, I don't have October's on me, so I understand what you're trying to get us to do, Dennis, and I support that. But I also want to make sure that, like Mike Jones says, that the city clerk, the finance director is handling the duties as the city clerk. So if,
Yes,
Is
ma'am, I
it-
understand. I'm quickly getting to that job description. So there's a bullet point on page 2 of the finance director's job description that is inked out that says performs the duties of the city clerk on an as-needed basis. That will be reapplied and re-implemented into that job description for your approval.
So Dennis, are we gonna look at these all again then because of that edit?
I hope not. I'm hoping that you will approve them this evening.
With the edit, correct?
Yes.
Correct. We're adding back in that bullet point that shows as edited out.
Okay, we've got a motion. Did we get a second, Travis?
I do not have a second.
can I just make sure that that is the only only
Susan, I'm
thing
looking, I'm looking through them too, so.
I see the city clerk, something about responsible for general office manager duties is added in. Would that revert back to October and not be in, or how would that, what would that do?
That's the current state of things right now, Susan.
Susan, great question. I think that one would stay the same. The only one we're amending right now for this motion right now is the finance director.
Because in the past, didn't Travis do some things while Rochelle was out?
We're not changing Travis's job description.
That was the original, Mike, and we just put that back in for your approval tonight.
So the motion is to not consider the assistant city clerk position, and then the finance director would be removing that bullet point, well, keeping that bullet point with regards to performing the duties of the city clerk on a needed basis.
That's how I have the motion stated.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we need a second.
I will second.
that.
Okay, roll call.
Susan Skiris,
Yes,
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Mike LaFredo,
Yes,
Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is consideration of updates to the governing body of rules of procedure. There is a current draft that was in the packet. I believe the schedule is read it, look at it, comment, and we will review it in a work session on February 15th. If that meets with everybody's approval,
Dave, since you're asking that question, I'm wondering if we can put in red where changes are made from the original one that I saw over 3 years ago. And that we presently.
Dennis?
Aaron's in the meeting, and Aaron and Matt were the ones that took the old version and cleaned it up for you this evening. Aaron, is it possible that we put in the edits?
So what you have in the packet is the document, the living document from 3 years ago. We did not make any changes to that.
Oh, okay, that is the old one.
That is the old SOP.
Okay,
Well, I think one thing Mike's also interested in is this SOP was not the one that was adopted by the council. Is that correct?
This was adopted by the council and then it was subsequently changed. So at one point, the document that's in your packet was the council SOP.
Dennis, maybe I can clarify a little bit of history on that. Mike Jones worked on the SOP for consideration for replacement as part of the SOPs. And we had the discussion, it appeared, and others can correct me if I'm wrong, that we thought it was a good, reasonable approach to simplify things. And then it apparently did not get voted on. I think that's the history of it from my memory. Anybody want to challenge that?
No, we voted on it. We passed it.
Yeah, my recollection is that the lengthier version of the SOPs was adopted, and then there was a desire to shorten that document. And so so then Mike Jones at that point went through and prepared a shortened version of the SOPs, and that was then voted on and adopted. So I think both the document that's in the packet tonight and then the document that you were operated under for a couple of years after that were both at one point the operating rules of the council.
So the Mike Jones proposal is included in here, Aaron?
I don't believe so. I think it's just, I'm sorry, I can't get my packet to pull up right now, but
This is the original one.
this is the original lengthier version that was
Yeah, but
one time the operating document.
I think you said that we approved the Mike Jones modification.
Yes.
Okay, so it should be in here.
Mike, we'll find that out for you and we'll get both versions to you and the other counselors and the mayor before the work session on the 15th so that you have both before you and then you have an informed discussion on the 15th.
That would be great, Dennis. Thank you.
That sounds good. And just Dennis, just so you know, I can send that to you. There was also one change that happened to the shorter document after it was implemented. So I'll get all of that circulated.
Okay, thank you, Aaron.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we have a work session on February 15th. Dennis, you and Aaron will conspire to get us the appropriate copies of those documents. Next item would be council reports, committee updates.
Can I ask just one quick question on this? Are we supposed to send our thoughts via email on what we have currently here, changes that we think need to be made, or to the long copy? Again, I'd have to look at Mike Jones's copy. I vaguely remember this happening prior to me coming on council, but just wondering, are we waiting for all of this to be talked about until the work session, or what's the expectation here?
I would ask that if the council person has something that they would like to share ahead of time that we can then distribute ahead of time, please send that on to Travis. Otherwise, this is basically an exercise in discussion and trying to reach agreement on certain points on this on the 15th. So if you have something you want to share ahead of time, please make sure it gets to Travis so that everybody can have access to it at the same time. Thank you.
Yeah, there's nothing to agree upon, actually, Dennis, because this is the existing one and the Mike Jones change is not included in this. So I think we need to wait and get the full all the information, both versions.
Okay, Teresa, you got a committee update?
I do. Public safety is meeting on the 9th as well as the MAC. So it looks like the 9th is going to be a long day, sandwiched. That's all I got. Thank you.
Okay. Mike Jones,
I don't have anything. Thank you.
Mike LaFredo.
The only thing I would comment on is the executive summary on the financial health of the district. And I mean, after I went to that meeting on Friday, and then as I hadn't seen this full deal before, but it's a little bit shocking, in my opinion, in terms of the financial health of the city. Not to alarm anybody, but that we didn't include in our configuration, apparently, and Michelle, if you're there, you can answer this for me, about the bond interest coming due this next fiscal year. I don't know if she's here or Travis wants to answer that, one or the other, but. I
Mr.
think,
Alfredo, we're not in a position this evening to talk about the budget documents that were distributed on Friday. And Rochelle isn't present this evening. So if you do have some questions about that, feel free to email me and I'll get you those answers PDQ.
well, Dennis, I just have incomplete information. I'm not creating a discussion other than I was surprised by the information that was there. And I would like more explanation on the whole thing and the greater perspective of our city's financial health.
Okay, please email those questions to me and I'll get answers as quick as I can.
Yeah, well, there's no urgency to it, but it's, that's what I would like.
Mike, you got any committee updates?
No,
Okay, Joseph,
No, none for me. Thank you.
Susan?
On the 20th of January, had the Metro Waste meeting, and Teresa was recognized for her work on the MWA board. She was thanked, and there were lots of nice things said about her by people that she talked with. And I don't know their names because Zoom really doesn't help us when it says owner. So lots of people said, thank you for your time. They are working through, Metro Waste is working with the cities to do spring cleanup. One of the things that they were very proud about was that they used Christmas trees. They took the used Christmas trees, put it in a pond in Johnston for the fish to kind of eat off of. MWA is willing to facilitate this for any city that wants to be involved. Not that we have any water that we could really do this with, but it's kind of a fun little project that they're doing just to try to help out the fish and try to do something resourceful with the Christmas trees. And that would be it.
Thank you. Dennis, you got any further comments?
We're just about done.
Okay, need a motion to adjourn to the 15th of February.
Hey, Mayor, just 1 second.
Okay,
Just a quick update for council. We did have, Ember had surgery last week, I think. The fire dog, she had part of a stuffed animal foot stuck in her intestine. So just in case you hear about that, she's doing fine. She's healing well. It was about a $2,000 bill that we did not expect, but it won't require a budget amendment or anything, but just FYI, in case anybody you hear about her or anything, she's doing fine.
good. Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call.
Susan Skerrys,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Mike Lafredo,
yes.
Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Thank you, folks. We'll see you all sometime between now and then, probably.
Happy birthday, Joseph.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Happy birthday, Joseph.
Hey, Joseph, congratulations.
Another
happy
day
birthday.
older.
That's right. Y'all take care.
All a big deal, believe me.
Take care, folks.